He's back for more, looking for a bride, yet he soon found out she in denial. What's up, heroes, and welcome back to yet again another movie review. And it's at Leprechaun 2, 1994. Boy, we are slowly creeping to the horrible parts of these movies, okay? We hasn't even got to the nasty shit yet, at least I remember. So I just got done watching Leprechaun 2, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I remember this movie being good at first when I watched it when I was little. Now watching it all these years later, you will see what I'm about to say. So before I dive into all the good, the bad, and the ugly with this movie, let me give you a little bit of plot what this movie is about. This movie tells a story about the leprechaun looking to find his bride to be, and he has to go through a bunch of chaotic things before he can claim his bride. Boy, so just like I said before, I said again, I remember this movie being good, okay? Because this is one of those films, like I said in the first review, I remember vividly, okay? It was one of the first horror films I've ever watched, and I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm glad I watched this when I was little, because I remember this movie differently. So to kick things off with my first pro, I would have to say in the opening of this film, we kind of dive into a little bit of his origin story, like a little backstory, where he's trying to claim his bride in order enough to get his throne, to crown himself as king and stuff like that. I do like that origin story, but they kind of say fuck you to all that. We'll get more on that in the myth element. But yeah, I do like that opening. Kind of good. By the way, a little bit of fun fact with that opening. In that opening, that's the shit that fucking traumatized me. Okay, I'm gonna do a separate video about that, about part two, the opening. But in that opening film, it traumatized the shit out of me, and I end up in a hospital for that. That'll be another video for another time. Oh, for me, would have to be the Leprechaun's lore. So basically, in this film, they try to dive deeper into the Leprechaun's lore. They did that in the first film, and then this one they kind of dive a little bit deeper with it. But when they did dive into it, I don't think it was enough because there was a lot of exposition of shit you really didn't care about, which we'll get more on into that later. But I do like the little bit of lore that they does give you. There was a scene in here where the leprechaun was drinking whiskey, I believe, and they challenged him to the drinking game. And the leprechaun pride would not allow him to back down. It would not allow him to give up. I do like that, you know. That stuff, that's the whole leprechaun Irish, I guess you say, a lore, okay? I do like that. It's a bit of a good change in pace, but then again, they didn't dive deep with that. Okay, now I'm about to dive into my next pro, but do not think of this the wrong way. When I was little, this too was the first pair of boobies that I've ever saw in any fucking horror film. Okay, the first pair of boobies. I had a crush on her when I was little. When I first saw this movie, I fell in love with this girl because of a lot of reasons back in the day when I first watched the movie, okay? Don't judge. But like I said, I fell in love with this girl because of this movie. We'll get more on her later, but the kill is what I want to talk about. So this boy was being charmed by the leprechaun. And he basically manipulated the boy into thinking that the girl was going to show her, her boobies. And it it was like it's like this leprechaun trick, okay? The leprechaun had the ability to manipulate things. And so this boy thought that he was looking at a big pair of titties. And all of a sudden it was a big ass fucking lawnmower type of thing. And he put his face in it thinking it was the girl's titties and it fucking cut his goddamn face up. It is hilarious how it play out. I can't show the entire thing, but I'm only gonna show this, okay? and I already talked about it, but this girl, I had a crush on her. Okay, she was one of those girls that I always wanted to watch a movie with her in. I've seen her in plenty of fucking movies, but this is the one film that I always constantly catch myself watching because of her, because she was pretty to me. Into the next part of my pro will have to be good old Warwick Davis. What can I say? He's still a lot of fun. He still got his little witty fun, the little gritty, the little whiffing, the one-liner shit. It's not as quite as good as the further he goes into this fun time, but it's still a good fun to see him out there doing what he does. That he's a lot of fun, but it's good to see that they like it kind of felt like they let him have a little bit more, I guess you could say, a little bit more creativity with it, because the fact that they wasn't trying to take this shit too serious. It seems like to me that the writers and the director just allow him to have a little bit of fun, do and say whatever he wants. And I think he executed whatever it is that they told him to do. Moving on into my mitts, we haven't got to the con part yet. It's still time. But moving on into the mitts. Going back to the part where I talked about the backstory. So the little bit of backstory that you do get here, they really does not clearly explain what this backstory goes back to. Is this supposed to be before the first movie, after the first movie, or 10, 20 years before or after? They does not care to explain any of that shit. They don't explain nothing. That is a fucking major problem, because this movie doesn't clearly use restaurant and continuity. It doesn't use it at all, and that bugged the shit out of me about this movie. And it gets worse the further we go. Another mix for me will have to be, this movie is actually fucking boring. I remember this movie, like I said, when I was a kid, I remember this movie being like fucking awesome, off the fucking chain. Oh boy, shit can change as you get older, and holy fuck, this movie is boring as hell. Not to mention the fact that the characters are also boring. You really don't give a damn about none of these characters. The moment that this movie starts, you already hate every single person in this entire fucking film. You don't care about nobody. You want everybody to die in this fucking film. That's how fucking boring this movie is. Moving on into my next mix. Budget in this film, she is a horrible fucking final girl. The worst final girl I have ever seen. And she was on my list in part 2. My top 10 worst final girls. She was on that fucking list. But goddamn, she is a horrible fucking final girl. A total bitch, whiny, in denial all the fucking time. Not to mention the acting was poor. We'll get more on that in just a second. But yeah, I didn't like her character. In fact, I didn't like none of the fucking characters in this fucking film. What brings me to my next mix is that the characters, every single person in this movie acting was so fucking bad. The moment that this movie starts, you already want everybody to die, because the acting in this film is by far the worst acting I've ever seen. Literally, you can tell that they just walking through the fucking motions with their acting ability. It doesn't seem like anybody put up the effort to even try to act in this film. No one gave a fuck in this film. I'm being completely honest with you here. Into my next mix will have to be the editing, the transition between scene to scene. So in this movie, there's a bunch of scenes that is a bunch of characters just sitting down, then they'll cut to something else. Characters sitting down, then they in the bathroom. Characters sitting down, and then they in the fucking like the little leprechaun's lure. They sitting down, then they in the fucking in a bar drinking. It's weird as fuck how this movie editing go. It's just a bunch of characters sitting down, setting up for the leprechaun to show up to fuck them up. It's like this movie also has a very weird time and pace. Because I'm sitting here, literally, on my bed, like, I don't remember this movie being like this. I must have, like, slipped into a fucking coma and stuff. I must have slipped. I'm being completely honest. I must have slipped into a fucking coma to the point where I literally just, like, erased the fact that this movie was so bad and so so boring that I, I I don't know how to explain it. It's just like I said, this movie is weird. The editing is so weird in this movie. It makes my editing look like fucking gold compared to how poor this editing is. It's just like I said, and then there is a lot of fucking Scooby Doo moments where the character will go in this room and then they pop up over here. They'll go in this room and then what do you think happens? Then they pop up over here. They'll go over here, then they pop back. What the hell? Am I watching Scooby Doo? I've always hated Scooby Doo. Why am I watching it in a Leprechaun film? The mix for me will have to be Cody, the main fucking character in this film. This guy right here is a horrible fucking boyfriend. Just as he is such as bad as she is, but he didn't really stand up for himself. If somebody is treating you so poorly, dude, you don't have to stick around. Let her ass go. Let them go, period. Don't let someone treat you like shit. Just let her go. You don't need it. You don't need that type of toxic in your life. But my overall thought is that I remember Leprechaun 2 being, like I said, a good ass fucking film. But we haven't even reached the bad shit yet, okay? We're getting there. So you see me all calm and smooth now? Just wait, Hellraiser. We haven't got to the bad shit yet. But like I said, Leprechaun 2, it's a guilty pleasure of mine, but the wrong type of guilty pleasure. So that's gonna wrap up today's specific review. I hope you guys are ready for this roller coaster ride that we're about to go through with this fun time. Man. So make sure you consider dropping a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that fucking bell notification so that when I drop the next Leprechaun review or another movie review, you'll be the first ones to get it. And I hope to catch you here in my next video.